All right, shut up. Let's talk about the DOM. All right, so Mez was kind enough to donate this code that we're going to refactor. And in the process, learn a little bit more about JavaScript, learn a little bit more about the DOM, learn a little bit more about events, and maybe become better people. So as far as I can tell, basic functionality in the app works okay. Beautiful. So let's take a look at the code. Did Mez cheat and change any of the elements? No, she did not. Beautiful. So everything we're looking at is here. So I'm going to show you the process that I would use to kind of, if somebody gave me this code for a review, these are the things that I would do. All right, first thing I want to do is extract out this inline function here. So I'm going to call this function initialize. It's not the most descriptive name, but it works. And then I'm going to yank all these things out and put them in here. And then make this, when the DOM content is loaded, initialize it. Okay, next thing. I'm looking for things that are just obviously wrong. This is actually kind of clever. Button arrays, get the child nodes. Something I don't like about it though. I'm gonna come back to that one, but that one's kind of like bookmarked in my head as, is there a better way to do this than child nodes? Okay. And then for each button in the button array, cool, here's another good opportunity to extract something out. So in that for each, now we got to figure out what this is doing. Prevent default. None of these are submits, I'm fairly sure. Yeah, so there's no behavior that we actually need to prevent the default of, so we can get rid of that. So I'm getting the screen. Okay, indentation matters. So when I see something like this, what I'm thinking, when I see that, is that I've opened up something starting here that this is inside of. That's not actually the case. So let's nudge that back. Oop. Oh, I see. Oop, and we got that happening. All right. Okay, so I get the screen, and then I'm trying to figure out what to push into some stuff. I'm going to call this like assign actions. I might think of a better name as we're going. Let's say it's assign actions, and it takes in a button. So I'll move this back here. Assign action, really. Yeah, that's a little better. And then this turns into, for each button, assign action. And make that function second, actually. So think about what I'm doing here, and like how this has improved readability already. By instead of doing the little inline functions, those aren't against the rules. That's what I write the first time also. But once you've got it working, like that saves you a bunch of time. It's almost always more readable to extract it out into separate functions. All right, so I assign the action, and then I have a similar thing happening here, where in this click listener, All right, I have this big gnarly if thing. Yeah. All right. And screen is used probably in all of them. All right, awesome. So what I'm thinking, okay, starting to think I should have a function that's like PerformAction, something like that. And it probably takes in the screen and the element. So, like all of this. I put that in here. Now I'm changing names a little bit though. Because it used to be event.target, I'm going to make it element. And so I'm going to call that PerformAction. I'm going to give it screen, and then I'm going to give it event.target. Then over here, screen stays the same, but this is going to change to element. Good. Oop, it's not going to see button anymore, though. I don't think. So we might have to get that also. Oh, yeah, it's up there. Interesting. I'll bet that just needs to go in here. Nice. Okay, and then, sweet. What else? So now I need to get that button in here. So button would be coming from assign action. And so first thing I can do is I can just pass it in. As soon as you start passing like 3 things into a function, you're probably headed down the wrong road. So I'm not expecting that to stick around long. At this point, I want to check if I broke anything. 5 plus, yep, so something's being hinky now. That's fine. I see why. It's because screen array isn't persisting. So one way I could solve this is just make it visible to all those function scopes. Okay, now that's not working. So that was the equals. It's because I didn't get rid of the event.target. So if I do 5 plus 9 equals element.includes is not a function. Oh yeah, it's not. I'm going to go way back and see what that originally was. Screen.innerText.includes. Gotcha. But I feel like that wasn't originally element. Let's see that again. Instead of element? Yeah, I think you're right. Beautiful. All right, 5 plus 9, pew. All right, so we're working again. Now, let's take a look through these again. really, we have screen there. So the reason I just did that, check this out. By having it in here, assign action is happening for every single button. And that means for all 20 buttons or whatever that are on this thing, this runs. So this is running 20 times. Additionally, every single time a click event happens on one of those 20 buttons, we reestablish the screen. The screen didn't move. So if we put that up here, that's probably a little bit more accurate. All right. So now I'm going to look at this PerformAction function. Now that screen is just globally available, I don't need to pass that in anymore. Phew. All right, back down to a more reasonable number of things. And also, I was curious why that button needed to be passed in. Let's see. This is the else case, where we're grabbing, like if it's a number or something like that, we figure out that it's 5, for example. So I don't need the entire button for that, right? Think about what's happening in this function. Performing an action. This is the only time button gets used. And it's only, all we care about is its content. So how about we just pass in the content instead of the entire button? So I'm going to say, instead of button inner text, let's call that character. Character. And then we'll make that button inner text. And then the best part of that, oh, check this out. So that's like each individual button. And then for that button, we're adding a click listener, and then we use event.target. What does event.target equal to? Button, same thing. So every time we're using button, or this element, that's really the same thing. Are we ever doing anything other than inner text on that element? No. Ooh, the ID. But we could also probably do that off of the character. Perfect. So check this shit out. That becomes just character. And then that becomes character. And that becomes character. And we can make this one's the one we actually have to like really change. We can make that one character equals, what is the symbol? There we go. And clear is C. So we can say if character equals, is that a lowercase c or an uppercase c? Capital. Cool. So let's see if it still works. Nope. Screen is null. Oh, because I'm probably trying to push into it. Why would screen be null? It's right there. All right, so on PerformAction, I want to see, I'll be the judge of that. What is screen? Null. Okay, so now I'm wondering, is screen overwritten anywhere? Plus equals includes, there's an equals, but that looks right to me. So does that. So does that. So does that. Weird. So, why would that be null? I'm wondering if so I'm going to look over here. All right, there's something with the ID of screen. While we're at it, though, I don't like get element by ID. Use query selector all, query selector and query selector all for everything. Because that's the same function I would use to get anything. Does the exact same thing, except it can also do a ton of other stuff. Get element by ID, get tag names by, get element by tag names, get elements by tag name, and then get elements by class, class name. Like, those are the old way to do it. Query selector and query selector all are just a random improvement on everything. So I'd recommend those. All right. So now I'm going to check, does it load with screen? Okay. That'll tell us if it was ever working. No. As my son would say, what the heck in the world? Like, these are the correct questions. Screen. Yeah. What the fuck? That is weird.
So, all of this stuff is inside the...
Oh! Pew. That's why. Ah! I see. So, that's the problem. I want everybody to think about why that didn't work. I'm going to call on somebody to explain it. Your best shot to figure out why screen is null. They're right, it is. Think about why that's null. Cool. Seth, why don't you give it a shot?
Is it because the screen and screen array aren't global or put under that listener?
That's a super good guess. No, not it. They are global. It's not undefined. It has been defined. That thing is seeing it correctly. Who else has a guess? Yeah, it has.
Is it because it's no longer inside the DOM conflict loaded?
Yeah. So here's what happens. We run this from top to bottom. We add an event listener for DOM content loaded, and whenever that happens, it should run initialize. Then we set initialize this empty screen array, and then we look for this in the DOM. The DOM has not finished loading yet, though, so it doesn't find anything, and so it comes back as null. And then I declare all these functions. Then this event fires, and so this starts running.
So then the screen have to be inside the function initialize?
So the challenge there, like this, isn't going to work any better. Why?
Because you've got the stuff in the other functions and it's only applicable to the function it's in.
Exactly. So if I want, this function, those can't see screen because they're in this scope and these have their own scopes. They can see the global scope just fine. Interesting problem. So now what I'm going to do, let's make this a function again, or an inline again. Maybe. Let's... Okay, so that... This will work. So I'm going to keep that in a function. I keep that there. And then I'm going to throw all of these definitions in there also. Now they'll be able to see that. Why? Why can everything see screen and screen array now? Yeah, they can see the scopes outside of it. And the DOM content is loaded. So now, no error. No behavior either. Oh, I need to call initialize. Initialize. 5 plus 6 is 11. All right, back in business. Okay, I want to look at this child nodes thing. First, instead of, let's see, what is this? Buttons is this container. I see, and we're getting every one of its children. Oh, and that's probably why you did that wild shit with the 0, because it has a child. I see. Interesting. So another way that we could get all the buttons, who has a guess? What is common to every single button on here? Samantha.
So, the way I did it was I did query selector all on the button div.
I like that. So we can do, I don't like the word button div. I could do something like that. And then say buttons are button dot query selector all span, and then do that. Also, maybe think about how I can collapse that. I can do these in one thing because query selector is awesome.
You can query selector all and then with quotations do dot button space.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. Can't do that with get element by ID, elements by tag name, anything like that. Any valid CSS selector works in here. And in fact, in case you didn't hate this enough, check this shit out. Holy shit. Wild, wild. Okay, so does it still work? Button is not defined. Oh, that's exactly what I need to do. Good call. Five plus 6. Pew! All right, still working. Next refactoring. wonder if that works. Function. All right, I just want to try it. This pattern is called an iffy, immediately invoked function execution. So I'm just gonna, if all I'm gonna do is declare a function and then immediately invoke it, wrap it in parentheses, and then invoke that. I don't think it liked it with the DOM shit though. All right, back in business. So, all right. Next thing I can do. All right, so I'm not using event in this. And so I'm going to do that instead. And then that. And then that. Okay. Nice. Okay, so now let's kind of like tear apart this if-else thing. This is the most advanced pattern that I think you'll probably see in this program. There aren't even all that many programmers who like know how to do this shit, so hooray. One of the tools that we have for getting rid of like these complicated if-else structures is called dictionary lookup. So how this works is we make a collection of actions, and the keys are going to be the thing that we're trying to match against. And then we're going to assign functions that go with each of those. So like this one, cool, let me do that. And then X, all right, what do we do when we hit X? We do this. And then if it's equals, we have some more else if kind of stuff. It's fine. We don't need that, we don't need that, we don't need that. And then we have the C. C does this. And then we have that kind of like error catcher. And then we have a default. So I'm going to just call that default. And then I'm going to keep that little catcher. All right, so I have this like collection of actions here. It's in an object, and even though like what it looks like it is pretty complicated, it super isn't. Not yet, at least. This is an object that has these button values as keys, and the value of those keys are functions. That's it. That's all we've done. What we're going to do is we're going to look up that key with this character. Because if I do something like actions character, what does that equal? So yeah, if it's C, that's C, actions at C is this function. Cool. Which means I can invoke it. Wow. Character is the thing we passed into the function. That was what we yanked out of that button. It's the inner text.
So if, for instance, in this case, you put like a number,
Mhm.
even though you're passing in a number, the key is just going to have
No, we're going to have to handle this one separately. I'll show you how to do that in a sec. But with the exception of that one, any of these other ones, we just get the function and call it.
where are you, sorry, character, like where are you making that work?
Here. I have each button. I pass its inner text into PerformAction as character.
Oh, okay. That's because they're changed, you don't have to name that variable character.
Correct. This is called a dictionary. That's the word, that's its definition. So we're going to look up the correct thing on the dictionary, and we're going to get back a function, then we're going to call it. Now Samantha brings up the hard part of this, which is if I get a 6, 6 isn't on here. But it is the same behavior as 7, 1, 2, 3, all of them. So what we do, actually, I'm going to throw the question to you. If I need to find out whether or not a character is already in that dictionary, what can I do? Could? I can like just directly look it up. I have an even easier way than that though. I just need something that's like truthy or falsy.
Oh, so it's like if actions have a key, so it's like action brackets,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Like, so it's like if actions character, then.
Something like that, yeah. Because yeah, if I look up 6 on actions, undefined. Doesn't exist. Undefined is falsy, so then I know that I need to do something. So what if actions character, actions at character, invoke it. Otherwise, actions, oh, this is where it gets, this is fun. Actions.default, invoke it, and pass in character. So I'll pass in character there. Ta-da.
That's exactly the question I can, or that's just like if I'll
That's a ternary, right?
He gets it. So it's just if else. It's not anything more complicated than that. If this is true, do this, otherwise do this. Mm-hmm.
With that kind of syntax, is it practical to write it that way, or if it else is like more restricted, like you can read it that way, like this, you have to know this,
You do. That is a super common question in a lot of teams. Is this more readable than an Ifelse? I think it is. Not every team agrees with me. The like UX of that is that words scan quicker than symbols. That's a symbol. It's the exact same thing, but we're using them to represent if and else.
So if you are recruiting,
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at somebody's code,
Yep.
you see this, would you say that like the person who wrote it is more senior, or like has better understanding? Like, does it matter?
I've never seen somebody who sucks at programming write a ternary. Now, you could argue then that like, well, that's flashy then, and flashy is the opposite of readable. ergo we're prioritizing your ego over making the code base better. It's a fair argument. Another reason that I think ternaries are in general better than Ifelse is if these had a return value, I could assign it to something. That's fucking cool.
How would you do that? You have to assign it to the action.
Exactly. And if those functions return things, that would be saved in the result.
So if you think about it, ternary is a lot more readable because you're asking a question at first and you have two options.
And this is how all functional programmers write things. There's no if and else in functional programming. Now, where this gets gnarly is you can nest these. So, like, you would do something like, if this is true, do this. If it's false, evaluate this. And if that's true, do this. And if it's false, do that. You can keep that.
So typically, you do that with the undefined material underneath there, or you do something like that?
So I'm not sure yet. I'm going to think about it, though. But yeah, I had that kind of earmarked in my head as like, I think there's a better way to do that. But one problem at a time. So let's take a look at what happened again. I pass in a character to this function. I declare this actions thing. And actually, check this shit out. These actions don't even need to be in this function. We can put those up here with all the other stuff that we're declaring and initializing and stuff. Hey, these functions are getting nice and small. So I pass in a character. I look to see if I have an action defined for that. If I do, I look it up again and invoke it. Otherwise, I call the default behavior with the character. See if it works. Nope. Something it didn't like. Cool, that worked. That's good. That X.
It doesn't show up until you do the next.
Yeah. What's going on with that? Let's take a look at what's happening in the action. It pushes it into the array, but it doesn't actually update the screen.
All right, that was happening in a different place.
There we go. Cool. So we've got these. Oh, you know what I'm not seeing here? Plus and minus.
Because they don't have to change.
Oh.
Because JavaScript recognizes plus and minus, but doesn't recognize the traditional
Oh.
multiplication and division sign.
Okay. I don't think I like that.
Did it not work?
No, it works. I mean that very literally. I don't like it.
Oh, you did not. Oh, I see.
So I'm going to make declared behaviors for these. Because really, I want this to be like numbers. Okay. So, all right. Look up the action. If it exists, I call it. If it doesn't, I pass in the default. And then undefined. Okay, so this is only something that would happen during an evaluation. So how about we make it part of the definition of evaluating? Like that. Man, look how small that function got. That's nice.
Can you just put the table in all in my mind, even though it'd be really long on the
Yeah,
other side?
you absolutely can. Now, this I do have issues with the readability on it. Because finding out the different things, you have to like jump to the middle of the line.
I understand, actually, I like it, this is more readable like that too.
And that's typically how you write a ternary. Now, what sucks is that you can't do it that way in Ruby. Ruby, it has to be on one line. Fucking Ruby. Developer happiness. Well, some other developer maybe. Yeah. All right. So, God, these are, yeah, we have three essentially one-liners for our functions now. This pattern, this dictionary lookup, actually this isn't even dictionary lookup anymore. This is called dynamic dispatch. Dictionary lookup is when like, by the way, anytime I type X, make sure it's actually an asterisk. They're just static values. That's dictionary lookup. When the thing you're getting back is a function that has behavior to it, that's called dynamic dispatch. The entire point of dynamic dispatch, in addition to like thinning out our functions, is we turned logic into data. I'm going to say that 3 more times. We turned logic, ifs and elses, into data, stuff we can just look at. We turned logic into data. Logic, data. Not bad.
So I don't know if this is used within JavaScript, but I know there are case statements. Is that similar to what we're doing with the dictionary?
No.
or-
Case statement is just like an if-else.
Okay.
It's just a,
Just cleaner.
yeah, generally. Exactly. It's a different way to write a bunch of else-ifs. And there's a very good performance reason that we care about getting rid of else's and ifs and that kind of shit. Because, this is a talk I gave it once upon a time, is cyclomatic complexity. You don't need to remember this. This is like beyond advanced. But cyclomatic complexity refers to how many different possible paths there are through the code. And I think I have a decent example of it somewhere. All of these create cyclomatic complexity. But if there's all these different ways that your code could go, that means there's more different things you need to test and more places it can break. And when you have to add something, you have to make sure you added it in exactly the right place. So this is a good example. This is the thing I was looking for. Each of these is a completely different path through the code. And just by looking at it, you'd have no clue that there's 3 totally different paths in this. So you're looking at it and you go, how many different tests do I have to write to make sure that I've covered all my bases? Woof, that sucks. Versus, so this dynamic dispatch example, so if I keep this collection of operations that have these functions in them, these are data now. That means that the only actual operation that I make is looking it up. That's the only path through the code. Data isn't logic. It's not a path through the code. You might argue that like I should break these out into separate functions and then I can test those. But if I know that that function works, and if I know that all these functions work, then I'm always forcing the code through a path that works. That's fucking cool. That is way more confidence we have in the code from that. That's why it matters. And if we go all the way back to the beginning, actually, hang on, I'm gonna just look it up on Mez's site. That's a lot of fucking places for a bug to hide. Nor for a bug to hide in dynamic dispatch. The next thing that I would do to make this better all of these are variations on the same thing. So I would find a way to extract that into a function. Like add to screen. And then we make that generic. Oh, good call. And then I'd make this add to screen plus. Oops, probably need to wrap it in string. Next thing I would do is use the method shorthand. So anytime you're assigning something in an object to a function, watch this shit. Pew! Does the same thing. And if that's all it's doing, you can probably one-line it also without really hurting readability. And then clear and equals are like actually different behaviors. And then I could probably do something to clean up this equals also, but I'm not going to.
So in the equals,
Mm-hmm.
there's like if, and then another if, and then else, because you do if, and then
Oh yeah,
if else on the second one.
we can do this, which would be even better actually. If actually this would be no. If or screen dot inner text dot includes /0, because those are the same result. There's probably somebody that hates the thing I just did, and it might be me. Something's happening here. Okay, I'll live with that. That's an improvement. Cool. I like that. I'm going to show you a solution I've done in the past on this. Let's see.
Is this solution without the eval?
No. But
Or to do it without the eval, I'm sure it'll take quite a few extra lines code.
not less than you might think, but really not that bad. Okay, so this is one I've done before. I keep the buttons and the screen in a dollar sign, so I can just do like $.buttons or $.screen. But hey, what do you know? Same shit. I did this dynamic dispatch. What do you know? Same shit. Oh, cool. With this one, since I wasn't keeping track of an array or something like that, so I don't think there was a step that I didn't need to do. But instead of a ternary, I just did an OR. But otherwise, same thing. I'm looking something up, and if it's not there, we look up the one for numbers and send in the character. An isNumber function that I was using. Oh yeah, this was to catch like pressing plus too many times in a row or something like that. But otherwise, kind of same thing. And I've found that when you go through this refactoring process and you're really trying to eliminate duplication, you're doing all this shit, I wasn't trying to make it look like this. I think that stuff just kind of ends up looking the same once you've removed all the duplication and you're following patterns and all that kind of stuff. The thing I like the most about this code is that ultimately there are two statements. We assign those elements and we do it for each. That's it. That's elegant. What questions?
So in your solution, you didn't do the content
Oh, this might be an earlier version of the thing that just had it at the bottom. Yeah, it did. What else? Lizzie, Cat, remember this shit?
So much fun. Don't listen.
Yeah,
Yeah, me too.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, that was what, or you can add them and set.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting me show you that. Bye.
There's another question
Yep. That you are very welcome to hang out for. Doc and Code. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to it all day.
here.